Hey, gang, you're listening to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers. My name is Carl White. I'm your host here for the next, however long it takes is what they say. So I'm joined by the pilot in command today, my good friend, Emmanuel Obileye. And great to see you, my man. And I love our topic that we got picked out today.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Carl. Good to see you again. I know
So
you don't remember when we met, but it's okay.
Well, tell me about that. So first of all, let me talk about the topic first before everybody clicks off. So what we're going to be talking about today is you started doing a podcast where you interview real estate agents and maybe some others. I don't know that. I heard it was you interview real estate agents and how you set appointments that way, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So when and where did we first meet?
In San Diego, probably just in San Diego, just about, I don't know, maybe about 5 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a broker called L2
Oh,
or
I
L10.
remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I met you there. You did your speaking portion.
My dog and pony show, as they say.
Yeah. And then I kind of just ran into you right outside. And you said what you're saying now. You're like, man, I can't compete with you. Something like that. And yeah, it was funny. It was really funny. But I just felt like you were this just really warm, down to earth guy when I first met you.
Well, that's why we get along so good, man. I get the same vibe from you. So, and you're where are you located at?
So Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Nice. Which is, you were telling me a few minutes ago, it's 40 minutes east of LA, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Are you native? Are you from there?
Yeah. So the Inland Empire County. So yeah, I was born and raised here. Went to college out of state and then moved back just about 6.5 years ago. So yeah.
I always, one of my favorite questions to ask, and it's not our topic today, but I'm just curious. I did this poll the other day, shocked with the results. What'd you study in college, and now you're a loan officer? Did they correlate together, or was it completely different?
Completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. I played football in college and I studied business and legal studies. And then I got a master's in healthcare administration. And I worked in healthcare for like 2 years. And I hated it. Yeah. And I found myself in real estate. The way I got into mortgages is pretty funny because it was a complete accident. Well, I hear it's an accident for most people. I hear. But yeah, now I'm here.
How long have you been doing this for?
So I started 4 years ago.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So not a bad time to start. Not a bad time.
Yeah, it was a decent time it was a decent time. Yeah. About a year and a half before the pandemic.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, cool. So you saw the big boom, but probably you were just getting started, so may or may not have been a recipient of the big boom.
Yeah.
But you were
I didn't have a lot of repeat business at the time. So
because you didn't have any business because you're just getting started. So there's not a lot of, the repeat business happens later on. So the good news is you've been doing it for 4 years now. You'll if you haven't already, you'll start to see some of that. So cool.
Yeah.
So
I just got back into it though.
Give us a little background. So broker, loan officer, branch manager, give us a little lay of the land.
So I'm in a pretty cool position, actually. A broker, a real estate broker of mine is a good friend. He started up a branch as a non-producing branch manager, okay, with ISER residential lending, and he made me the primary lender. Okay. There, so I'm kind of like the lead lender there, or lead loan officer, and we're not remote. We have an office, but the office is a mix of real estate agents and then me. So it's I'm kind of like by design the in-house lender.
Okay.
And he's like he's been in the business for, I don't know, 19 or so years. So he's kind of like a whale himself. And we're good friends. So he sends me his his referrals. Yeah, so that's kind of the position I'm in. I started off in another company that's actually next door to where I'm at now. Um, and it's yeah, just kind of I kind of landed everywhere I've been. I've kind of just landed. So
Funny how that works. There's an old saying, you want to be at the right place at the right time. And the secret to that is be a lot of places, a lot of time. And
that
so
makes a
good,
lot of sense.
good old fashioned elbow grease. Nothing beats good old fashioned elbow grease. So,
I
all
know
right.
it.
So we're going to talk about our topic of the day is you're doing a podcast. So who is the podcast? Is a podcast directed to real estate agents or is it directed to the consumer? Who's the audience?
So the audience is consumer. The audience are mostly consumers. They are so again the podcast is so it's called the real estate rep podcast, right? I just tried to keep it really simple.
Like that? Easy to
Yeah.
spell?
Yeah. And it's literally the frog conversation, right? Family, recreation, occupation, uh,
Goals.
goals. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also add in like their listings. So it's really easy to have this conversation um because it's very directed, it's like they kind of come in, kind of like ready to talk about themselves. So it's very structured and they just want, they know they're supposed to talk and I'm just listening really. I ask a few questions. We kind of, can get into a nice little back and forth, ask them if they've got any funny stories of some funny transactions. I'd say, I ask them to like send a listing or whatever listings they have, and I'll make a quick little flyer from that, and then I'll post it up I'll post it up. I'm actually not done with any of the editing yet, but yeah, and they kind of like it. So I actually just got off the phone with someone maybe a few minutes ago. And this was actually that was actually the third no I got. Well, actually, it wasn't a no. It was a tell me, can you send me some information on it? And I'll see if see if I want to want to do that kind of thing. And I just kind of take that as like, all right, you're trying to see if this is like some high profile thing. And this is, supposed to be quick and dirty.
Or maybe just make sure that it's, in the same values, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I got invited to speak on this podcast one time, and come to find, so this is no exaggeration. I get on the podcast, run on Zoom just like this, and the guy literally is doing bong hits, and it was like, hey, I got nothing wrong with somebody wanting to do bong hits, right? I got no issue with that whatsoever, any more than cracking a bottle of Jack, right? I'm just not going to do it when I'm at work. Right. So that's that didn't go against, it didn't go with my vibe, so that's probably what they're doing. So, all right. So let's backtrack a little bit. So you're doing a podcast, it's directed to the consumer, but it sounds like the secret sauce is really who you're interviewing. And you're interviewing primarily, is it real estate agents or is it only real estate agents?
Primarily real estate agents, but I think as I get further along, because I just started this 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think, maybe some, like insurance, maybe
appraisers. Yeah.
Appraisers. Yeah. Things like that. But right now I'm literally using it just to set meetings. Yeah. And, and create some joint marketing, but
yeah. So you're using it. So the primary thing you're doing it for isn't really certainly that'd be a side benefit, but the primary thing is not necessarily to build up an audience of consumers necessarily. It's really developing a relationship with the people with the real estate agents that you're interviewing. It's kind of like back, this is going back probably 15 years ago or so. God, can't believe it's been that long. But I used to do a little radio show at a local radio station here. Mm-hmm. And, the joke was I didn't even know if the antenna was hooked up at the radio station. it didn't matter because it was interviewing the real estate agents and them getting their picture and a little spotlight put on them. That was really the secret sauce. Is that kind of, if we're kind of looking under the covers under this thing, is that kind of the same basic thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's 100% what it was. I mean, the first few interviews, one of my microphones didn't work, or I couldn't figure out the technicals, and it is just like, I just need to get some meetings because I literally got it from you, literally from your mouth in the loan officer breakfast club. And you said almost verbatim, 100% of the agents that I called to get on a podcast say yes. You said no one says no. So I said, okay,
I can do that.
Yeah, I can figure it out. I can get a couple mics and use my camera and jimmy something together. And part of it, if I'm being honest, right? Like part of it was my insecurity in believing that the phone call doesn't work, that the coffee rather doesn't work. Everyone's asking them the coffee. The reality, it does work, but it was my insecurity saying that I need to do something more creative or whatever, to get it. But it seems to be working out. So
yeah, good for you, man. One thing I love, and which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on this podcast, is what I love about what you're doing is most people wait until it's perfect before they start. Well, let me figure this out. Let me get that. And let me get this. And it's not just perfect. And let me practice it 153 times with friends of mine. And that's not getting me anywhere. And you said, screw that. Give me the mic, hit the record button. Let's just go with the show. So good for you, man. Good for you. So how do you, so you're calling these agents or let's take it back. So your agents are your guest. Right. And do they have to do a certain amount of production to warrant you give them a call to get on the podcast, or are you just random? Like where are you finding the agents to call to invite them on?
So I use MMI, and I'm using so to be honest, the first few the first three were my friends. Right?
Perfect. Yeah,
just so I could kind of get something going.
Yeah.
And those are the perfect ones to kind of mess up on.
Yeah.
But I have one friend, real estate agent, just beautiful person, real estate agent, and I wanted to get it right for her, because she just always has something really nice, really positive to say. She's just like a big ball of energy. So I think that was like the third or fourth one where I finally got it right on with her. But now I'm calling qualified agents, 8 or more. If I'm being honest, 6. And I know we went over the numbers yesterday.
When you said 6, so like
buyer
6,
side,
they've done 6 buyer sides or more in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
All right. So you find Jill or John realtor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you see, hey, this person has closed 12 in the, they're averaging 1 a month on the buyer side. So you want to reach out to invite them on your podcast show. Are you texting them? Are you messaging them? Are you calling them? Like, how do you contact it? What's that first contact look like?
I'm on Call Stars, and we're making the phone call. I call, and I just said, hey, I got recommended to call you. I don't even say who I recommend. Just say it was recommended that I give you a call. I'm looking at your reviews on Zillow or Redfin or whatever it may be, and you've got X amount of pages of 5-star reviews. So congrats on that. But the reason why I'm calling you is because I've got this podcast and it's about blah 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 and this and that, and just wondering if you were open to being a part of that. And honestly, out of calling now today, I only made 16 phone calls just today, but I got 3 meetings. Most people will say, I would say I've got 80, only about 20% say no.
Okay.
Right. Like, just, nah, I'm not into it. I'm okay, man. Thanks. It sounds like a good idea. Good luck with it,
Yep.
But everyone else will say something else other than no. Right. They'll say, yeah, man, you know what? That sounds like a pretty cool idea. I'm going to a meeting. Can you call me back, or, or just yes. But yeah, there's been very few no, which to me is kind of, I don't know. I don't know what it'll turn out to be. Haven't quite gotten any referrals yet, but I've made some pretty good friends, um, just off of that.
Well, and how long you've been, I mean, you've only been doing it for what, like less than a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it certainly, we can agree that it takes a little bit of time,
Yeah.
for this work.
Yeah.
So you're calling them up and offering to get them on the podcast, and they say 80% say yes, or a version of it, like either
Yeah.
yes or hey, sounds like great, call me in a little bit. Do you are you like, you and I are on a Zoom meeting right now, and we're just recording that.
Yeah.
Is that what you do, just doing Zoom meetings?
Yeah. So it's either a Zoom if they want to do it on Zoom, but if they come in person, I'll do it on this system called OBS, which is just kind of like a really nice recording system that like
And so
works
some of them
well.
you're doing face to face then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
all but one I've done face to face.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
probably actually better, because in your case, you're looking not so much as building up a viewership per se. It's more of making contacts with the people that you're interviewing,
exactly. Yeah,
and the face to face. Boy, nothing beats that. How
yeah.
long is each episode?
They're really. It's like sometimes it's kind of like if I know you and we have like a relationship,
Yeah.
then it's about 20 minutes,
Okay.
about 30 minutes. My friend who I just spoke about, we went 40 minutes long.
Okay. And
um
then if it's somebody you don't know, is that different?
it's shorter, yeah, it's right about 10-12 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, what do you talk about?
um so I start off, I let them know like, hey, I just want to come and talk to you about what, your background, how you got into real estate, um how you've turned your business into a successful business,
Okay.
how you offer such great service, what areas do you primarily, so on and so forth. And then, those kind of just organically turn into, just a nice flowing conversation, right?
Just having a conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Yeah.
it's there's one realtor that I feel like this, like my biggest success story from this. I just got off the phone with him a little while ago. He just came in and he just, he kind of felt like my type of guy, and he felt the same thing with me.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, man, let's go grab a beer, sometime later. I have got some open houses, man. If you're up for doing that, we can go do that. So he just told me about the open house today. And he was like, yeah, man, when you come to the office and we'll do something else like this. And there's six other agents there too. And, and we're just vibing really well.
Yeah.
Um, and it's exactly what you've been talking about. Like, don't try to, in MMA, like build a friendship with them, because those are the people that you're going to be doing business with long term.
Yeah.
So
And if you
yeah.
don't feel that connection, it's okay. Let it go. Like I think
Right.
I think that's where burnout comes, is people get like, oh geez, I gotta call this guy, or I gotta talk to this lady, or oh, I hate seeing this person at the closing. It's like, dude, there's so many. Like, as
Yeah.
long as we're doing our prospecting, which is what you're doing, that over time, we can, over a short period of time, we can decide who we work with. And somebody that we don't feel that vibe, as you said, which is a great word. Man, it's okay. Let them
Yeah.
go, because tomorrow you'll schedule two or three more, and
Right.
people that you genuinely like, because you're going to be hanging out at work. You might as well hang out with people that you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for
I
you, man.
found that out the hard way when I first started, kind of.
Yeah.
I didn't not first started. Well, yeah, it was in my first year. It's crazy story. Crazy story. So, Realtor X, you're gonna be shocked. Realtor X sent me a client, right? And he was hustling. It was like a new lead every other day, a lead at the very least, right? So, he sends me a lead and it's a nurse, right? They're always pretty easy to qualify, right?
Yeah.
And she's got this particular property in mind already. um, they send over the property, and
Okay.
I put out a prequal as quick as I can, and then they send over the property, and we look through the property, and I'm like, hey, this thing's got Melrose on it, and
Mm.
Melrose is just high taxes, and it can really affect the qualification, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to talk bad about anybody in any way, but when I said, hey, this has got Melrose on it, he said, who's that? Oh, so long story short, it didn't go well. And he actually wanted to fight me. He wanted to fight me physically because it didn't work out for, that particular property didn't work out. And I was like, hey, let's just go find another property, no big deal. And he somehow was super mad at me because he felt like I should have, I don't know, somehow knew that ahead of time. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I found it out when anyway, it was
Yeah.
just,
I'm just a messenger, right?
yeah, yeah. So it wasn't worth it. He was, I could tell with his type of attitude, his type of work ethic, he had the potential to be a high producing real estate agent, right? But it wasn't worth, even just his energy. It was kind of like he wasn't
Yeah.
interested in anything
Life's
other
too
than
short.
just,
As long
yeah,
as we're outbound prospecting, we can get picky. Now, if we're not outbound prospecting, hey, we got to take whatever roadkill we can find. But people like me and you, we outbound prospect, and then we get we get to eat the best cuts, so to speak. So
right.
so you do these podcasts. They're 20, 30 minutes. You're either doing them on Zoom or you're doing them live.
Mhm.
You're interviewing qualified agents. Um, how often are you doing them? Like on you? Do you plan on? Or is this going to be like a once a week, once a month, twice a week, every other week, or just as they happen, release them that way? Any particular plans on that?
So as far as when I post them, the plan is to post them on Sundays, every Sunday. But as far as the meetings go, I mean, I've got two tomorrow, and the goal is, you gave me the advice because as I was struggling trying to put things together, after you said 9 to 11, you know, Thor
Prospecting time.
prospect time. You can do everything after that. So I just said, okay, 2 o'clock is the one time I'm gonna have a meeting, or after 2 o'clock is when I can start having my meetings.
Okay.
So everything from 2 o'clock on, or everything before 11 or before two rather, is just it's for my DSP, right? The daily
Yeah.
success plan.
So 9 to 11, you're making your calls,
Yeah,
and then from 11 till 2, you're structuring deals, taking applications, like whatever needs to be done in the
whatever
mortgage
needs to be
business
done. Yeah,
as a result of the business coming in from prospecting. And
right.
then 2 o'clock on would be the meetings that you
Exactly.
set up on your 9 to 11 calls. I like that, man.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty good schedule.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's not as perfect as it sounds. It's really not.
Nothing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the plan going in every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's working, right? Like I've got my calendar here, and I'm just on the phone. Like, hey, you want to do 2 o'clock on, tomorrow? And okay, cool. It's just like keep going at it, keep going at it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to schedule anything further than a week out.
I
So
agree with
once I
that.
get,
Mhm.
yeah. So once I get filled up for the week, then I just kind of focus. Honestly, I just kind of focus on making sure I can keep the meetings, and then focusing on like calling those agents and trying to get, something out of them until the meeting comes, or,
Yeah.
trying to find some way to further the relationship, whether I ask them if they got old leads, or
Yeah. Mhm.
anything, right? Anything.
All right. So you did the podcast.
Mhm.
You recorded it. You got it. You're getting it up on the site. And like, what is the follow up to that agent? Because again, this is the primary purpose is to follow up with this person and get
Build a
referrals
relationship,
from
yeah.
them. So what's the plan for that?
So I'll call him again the following week. Well, I may call him, if depending on how well it went, I may call him the next day. Like this one realtor, like I'll probably talk to him 2 or 3 times a week. Um, But yeah, I'll call them once a week, and then I'll say, hey, I'm getting, the podcast is almost done being edited. Just letting you know. But in the meantime, you have any open houses that you've got that I can, I can come and help you run run the open house with? Do you have any old leads that I can, I can bang the phone out and call as many leads as you've got, or anything like that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of really what it's like up until I get the podcast posted. And then after that, I would start calling them, right? Like, and say, hey, how do you like the podcast? Hey, maybe you can send it to this person or that person, or send it to this site or that site, right? Basically, I'm just talking about YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of like every reason I can think of to call again the following week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really it. It's not extremely structured, as you can tell, but it's, I'm just trying to follow the daily success plan and make it fit into this.
It might be something as simple as a very good friend of mine who's not even in the mortgage business. He's actually a real estate agent. Some of our listeners might have heard him. His name is Dean Jackson. And Dean gave me one of the best scripts ever. He said, brother, he's a real estate agent himself. He said, best script ever is every single Monday morning, call the real estate agent. Hey, how was your weekend? Did you work or did you play? If they said they worked, awesome. Who'd you work with? I can help you with. I played. Awesome. What'd you guys do? Man, that sounds like fun. I know you're busy. I'll let you get back to it. Can I count on you for the next buyer lead? I'd love to work with you this month. And man,
that came from a real estate agent?
It did. A real estate agent. His name is, he's actually a trainer for real estate agents, but his name is Dean Jackson, who just by chance lives about an hour and a half from my house. And he told me that best script ever to call real estate agents is just, I think sometimes we try to overthink it. And I know for me, it was like, I thought I had to have a new clever one-liners. Like I'm in my single days, I'm at the bar trying to think of my one-liner. I've never been a one-liner kind of guy, right? It's just I don't have that. I wish I did. But I don't have that gift. So
and that's kind of the idea that this came with too, right? Like, what's my thing that I can say, right? Like, to get them to want to meet up and blah blah blah, right? Like, that was in the same vein.
Well, you got the meetup. The meetup's easy. It's like, hey, I'd like to have you on my podcast. By far, more is going to say yes than no. And the cool part is that the actual doing of the podcast doesn't cost any. I think a lot of people might not know that, but as people are listening to your podcast or they're listening to this podcast right now, whether you're listening to it on Stitcher or iTunes or iHeart or I think we're on 27 different platforms. None of them cost me a dime. So when you're posting this podcast up, it costs nothing. Like, doesn't cost anything.
Right.
And so it's like, it's the biggest, I don't know. I think it's the biggest no-brainer ever. And technology is so easy today where I think everybody knows how to do a Zoom. Just click the record button. I can see you got a fancy dancy microphone. I got this little $39 thing I picked up on literally on Amazon. And
trust me, they're the same. I think they're the same price and the same.
Yeah. So it just doesn't take that much. And did you ever get that cheat sheet of questions to ask on a podcast that I have?
I'm certain I did.
All right. Yeah. If you ever need that,
so many downloaded.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I got a thing. I think it's like 100. I think it's like 100 different or 75, something like that. Different questions I ask on the podcast. So anyway, if you want to, when we get offline here,
okay,
I'll grab your email and I'll make sure you get a copy of that. It's killer, man. I've been using that for years. I haven't used it here on our call, but I keep it printed up right here beside me, ready to go in case I feel a little. I need some inspiration to ask questions, and so.
Man, yeah, I definitely would love that.
All right, I'll send that. Yeah, I'll send that over to you. I'll get your email when we finish here.
So how long have you been doing this podcast?
I've been doing this podcast, I don't know, maybe 4 years, maybe 5, maybe Yeah, I did it before the pandemic. I think I did it. It must be about 5 years because I think we were getting ready to announce our 100th show right when the pandemic hit, and I went, well, it's probably not a good time to be popping champagne corks. So let's put that on pause. And so about five
Yeah.
years, yeah, something like that. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's cool, man.
I enjoy doing it. I get to hang out with cool people like you, and people around the nation are kind enough, when I see them, saying that it helps them out. So, well, it's the same effect you'll see. Again, you just gotten started with yours, but
Yeah.
I think the secret to doing a podcast is don't quit. So many people, they'll do 1 or 3 or 5 or 10 episodes, and they go, "Holy cow, I've been doing 10 episodes. I don't have my first lead yet," and then they tap out, and it's like, dude, big money always takes more time.
Takes more time.
It does. Big money takes more time, and doing podcasts and results from it can be really big money. And it just
Mm,
it takes time. My guess is, insert
mm,
in singer,
right.
Beyonce. I'm a
Right.
big Beyonce fan. My guess is first time she grabbed a microphone, she didn't make $1 million.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
what seems like overnight successes never are, or almost
Never.
never
Yeah.
are.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway,
And see, even in this podcast world, like I don't understand it. I don't get it. I was even getting ready to I made some phone calls to some friends who are doing podcasts, and they look far better than mine, right? And I was like, yeah, I started to get the idea, like, yeah, I think I want to make this look really nice, and have like a nice multi-camera setup, and really nice, expensive, gear, and blah blah blah, and this and that, and I was just like, man, that's not the point,
my man, brother, you got it right there. Because
yeah.
my stats show me, and yours might end up. You're a good looking man, so your stats might be different than mine. On my stats, about 5% watch, and
I'm
about
glad you and my wife think that.
yeah. So about 5% of mine watch, and about 95% listen. So some people go on YouTube and will
Okay.
watch this on YouTube, and I think it goes on a handful of video platforms, but the vast majority just listen. So frankly, we could be sitting here in you know, well, you'd look good with your shirt off. I wouldn't, but we could sit here. Yeah, no, almost nobody watches this. Is by
Huh.
far primarily, they're on the treadmill as we're
Right.
watching, as they're listening right now. They're on the treadmill. They're out
Right.
on the bicycle. They're walking the dog around. They're at the grocery store. They're driving back and forth to work. And some listen to it purposefully, but a lot of people, just listen. So, dude, I love what you're doing. I love that you're just like, um, you're just doing it, man, and you'll figure it out on the way. You don't wait until you guarantee you're not going to scrape your knees. Yeah,
Right.
what's that old saying? You jump off the cliff and grow your wings on the way down. And my man, you're doing it. So I'm a
I'm
huge fan.
trying. I'm
No, you
definitely
no,
trying.
you're not trying. You're doing. What's Yoda say? There is no try. There's either do or don't. And you're doing it.
Do or
So
don't.
good for you, man. I just want to give you some
Yeah.
credit and tip my hat to you. And I want to get you on the podcast to help inspire others. Don't wait till it's perfect. Just freaking do it. Whatever it
Just
is,
do it. Yeah.
just do it. Hey, what's one piece of advice you'd give somebody as we're here at the top of the hour? Give me one piece of advice.
I was watching a podcast last night with Michael Rubin, the CEO of Fanatics,
Okay. Yep.
and he was like, yeah, man, I was getting sued for like $1 million at 16 years old because of this ski board and whatever that he started. And he said, never one time did I doubt myself. And that was the only reason that I didn't doubt myself, or he didn't doubt himself, was because he just had too much going on to even think about doubting himself. So in this, like, I have the worst kind of, what do we call it? Fear of calling people.
Yeah.
Like the worst. But it's simply because I'm doubting myself, and I'm creating too much time, leaving too much time to doubt myself. They say that the devil's playground is an idle mind, right? So just not keeping meaninglessly busy, but keeping busy enough to that you don't get into doubting yourself. So that you can just keep going, just keep just keep throwing the rock at the wall, just keep punching the world as hard as you can until it produces some water. So
And
yeah.
dude, that might be the single best advice I've ever heard. That's
Really?
that's good stuff right there. Yeah, just yeah, but you're right. It's like for me, it's in between the calls. Like when I hang up the phone and getting ready to pick up the call, the next one, it's that in between time where I doubt it's not while I'm on the call, it's in between the call, in between the time. If we can just
Yeah.
keep doing the motion, it's amazing things. Yeah, it breaks my heart every time I see somebody tap out. I think,
Yeah.
dude, if you just would have kept at it a little bit longer,
Yeah.
or I hear people say, well, I think I'm gonna have to go get a real job. And I think, man, if you treated this like a real job,
Yeah.
you'd make you'd make a couple $100,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and doing it on your terms, not somebody else's. And
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
brother, I'm a huge fan. I really appreciate you coming on here.
I'm a big
And
fan of yours, man.
well, we'll have we could have a love fest here then, because I really am a real big fan of what you're doing. And thanks
Thanks,
for
man.
coming on here and helping me inspire others, my man.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you. Really do. Appreciate everything you've been doing. Everything, just MMA, mortgage marketing animals, is by far the best thing I've ever seen. I wish I would have found it when I first started. Yeah, this is completely life changing. I was just thinking last week, maybe I should go get a part-time job and blah, 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 this and that, but it's like, no, just treat this as the full-time job. Even just treat the DSP as the full-time job.
Yeah.
And it works. So anyway, thank you. I really appreciate you.
Well, you're worth it, my man. So thanks a lot. And for all our listeners out there, we appreciate you guys. Appreciate those reviews. Go check out Emmanuel's podcast as he gets it up and published. And we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Emmanuel, great stuff. Really appreciate it. Hey, if you're listening today and going, what the heck is this DSP? So it's what we call the Daily Success Plan, And it's the systemized process where we get referrals by having a very specific activity to do each day of the week, right? And so we'll walk you through that. There's no charge of that whatsoever. If you just go to dailysuccessplan.com, dailysuccessplan.com, you go to that page. My dear friend Frank Gray will be on there. He'll give you a little welcome. And we're going to ask you just a couple questions to help us best prepare for the call. And then it'll take you to a calendar, or you pick a time and day that works best for you. And then we'll do a scheduled 45-minute meeting. We'll walk you through the Daily Success Plan. No strings, no catches. It's a really, really great plan. The exact same plan that me and my team still use today. And we'll give you the scripts. And so you're welcome to all that. So it seems to be, people tell me that's what seems like it moves the needle the most. So I'd love to help you with that. So Emmanuel, thanks again. Out of the park stuff. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the reviews. We'll talk to you when you call in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.